Good afternoon or good noon. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for continuing to join us here today. This morning we continued to deepen this conversation between ourselves and our neighbors and friends in Mexico. And we continue this now with an even greater importance and conversation. We are quite honored to have Minister Ildefonso Guajardo Villareal here with us today, and we're honored by your presence, sir, and we thank you for taking time to be with us and encourage this budding global initiative, partnership between the Brookings Institution and J.P. Morgan Chase. We're very proud of the role we're playing in trying to bring cities closer together so they can participate in a more fulsome way in the globalized economy of the world. So our next speaker knows much about where Mexico's regional economy is headed as Secretary of the Economy for Mexico. Ildefonso Guajardo Villareal is responsible for strengthening the Mexican economy, boosting domestic markets, and promoting international markets as well. Last month, he met with his counterparts, Edward Fast of Canada and Penny Pritzker of the United States, to address key priorities in the economic relationship of our three countries: growth, trade integration, job creation, and ensuring the competitiveness of North American region well into the future. In addition to several roles in the federal and state government, he served as director of the North American Free Trade Agreement Affairs Office, which was based at the embassy, Mexican Embassy in Washington, D.C. So please join me in welcoming Minister Ildefonso Guajardo Villareal as our next speaker. Thank you very much.
I was asked when I arrived 15 minutes ago if I should speak in Spanish or English. My English is not excellent because I went all my life to public schooling, and you really don't get to improve. So I learned English when I was 20 years old, but I'll try my best to communicate and to avoid using translation because you get lost in translation. So I'll try to address this crowd in English. First, let me recognize the presence of Mayor Richard Daley, not just because he's now leading this incredible initiative of global cities, but because he was a big player during NAFTA times. I think that when we were trying to get this initiative through the Congress of the Mexican Congress, the US Congress, and the Canadian Parliament, the work that was done by local officials was very important because at the end of the day, it was grassroots work in the communities that made it possible. Because it is very easy to defend protectionism and to be demagogical about it. But when you really try to promote free trade and to convince that the only way to really work for a better future, for better jobs, for better salaries, is when you really convince the communities that this is the best way to go and to transform a country and an economy. I also would like to thank the work that J.P. Morgan and the Brookings Institute are playing in this Global Cities Initiative, because that's exactly the kind of work that you have to do to land the results that we have been getting through what was one of the greatest initiatives in the Western Hemisphere and in the world, NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. I also recognize the presence, I don't know if he's here with us today, the mayor of Mesa, Arizona. I studied my master's at Arizona State University before going to Wharton, so I have very deep feelings about Arizona. And to congratulate also my friend Juan Pardiñas for being part of this initiative, and recognize Bruce Katz from the Brookings Institute also, as well as Peter Scheer, who is also leading this effort. Let me start by framing where Mexico comes from in this process and trying to highlight the efforts that Mexico has done through the last 2 decades. when you build economic policy in a democracy, you have to make sure that what you do has the backing and the support and the consensus of all expressions and political forces involved in this process. I think that through time, through difficult times, Mexico has learned very important lessons in economic issues. In the middle of the 90s, or early 90s, after too many years of a stop-and-go type of economic cycles, where the Mexican economy in the 70s, in the 80s, was facing tremendous crisis, high inflation, devaluation, once again and again. Finally, it took us several years to understand of the value of economic stability. Economic stability is only achieved by the mere fact of adopting responsible fiscal and monetary policies. I think that lesson was well learned, and since the beginning of the 90s, with the autonomy of the central bank, we finally got the right tools with an autonomous central bank to conduct our monetary policy responsible. At the same time, we learned the hard lesson that only balanced budgets and fiscal responsibility was going to be able to help us to conduct this economy responsible. And so these two elements, at the end of the day, help us to get the Mexican economy on the good track of financial stability. But the important part of this have been congressman 2 times in Congress, one in year 2000 to 2003, and the second time from 2009 to 2012, is that all political parties involved today, they do not longer debate on the need to have stable finances and the need to have responsible monetary policy, with a central bank with only one objective: price stability in the economy. So that is one very important asset that this country has established for good and forever in the managing of economic policy. The other big asset that we have been able to build since the 90s is our belief in free trade and the adherence of different Mexican administrations that have gone through different party lines but still keep the country online on free trade policies. And this good story about free trade, without question, started in 1994 with the implementation of the North American Free Trade Agreement. Some of you that were part of that debate a long time ago will recognize that there were many individuals that could not believe or take a bet on a great initiative that finally we were able to implement. Today, 20 years ago, just by looking at the numbers and the figures that we have been able to construct together, it is very simple to see the success that NAFTA had been for the North American region. Probably through the day you have been hearing statistics that are quite impressive. For Mexico, for instance, every minute on the US-Mexico border, there is $1 million of merchandise going across the border. Mexico and Canada, just these two countries, are buying 1/3 of US exports. For Mexico, NAFTA was a game changer. Before NAFTA, our foreign direct investment on average was about $2.5 billion. After NAFTA, the average has been close to $20 billion. The salaries paid on the part of the economy that is oriented to exports are 3 or 4 times higher than the salaries paid on the traditional economy. At the same time, when you look at the geographical transformation of the country, when you travel to the states like Querétaro, San Luis, Aguascalientes, the economic geography of the country has been deeply transformed. 20 years ago, when you drove through these states, you will see cactus, cows, and today you see the airspace cluster, you see the automotive cluster. I just accompanied President Peña 2 days ago to the opening of the Nissan plant that by year 2016, we'll be producing 1 million cars a year. It's just an incredible amount of cars. Mexico, only in this year, produced 2.5 million cars, being the 8th largest producer in the world and the 4th largest exporter of cars in the world. But this incredible story of NAFTA and this success story in the Mexican case has a part of the picture missing. When you look at Mexico, the development and the progress that you look in the north and in the center of the country is not shared at the same level in the southeast of Mexico. A state of Guerrero, a state of Chiapas, a state of Tabasco, a state of Michoacan. It's like we were talking about two different Mexicos. And when you look at the economic units, different enterprises of different sizes, it seems that NAFTA has been a success story for the big companies mainly, and the medium-sized companies that have been able to join this success story of foreign trade. When you look at the 5 million economic units that there are in Mexico, the small and micro enterprises in Mexico, most of them are not linked to the success story of NAFTA. And so when you analyze President Peña reform policies that has been able to get the consensus within the Pacto for Mexico, the common denominator of these reforms is exactly to take at this point the homework that should have been done 20 years ago. What is this homework that was pending 20 years ago in Mexico? To really get a framework for economic competition that will allow small and medium-sized enterprises to get access to competitive inputs, to reform the telecommunication system in a world of high technology to give access of medium and small-sized enterprises to benefit of competitive cost for telecommunications and internet, to reform energy that is about to be in debate in the lower and upper house in Congress, in order to guarantee that Mexican industrialists and businessmen have access to abundant energy at competitive prices. Just to give you an example of what do I mean by letting this success story be spread evenly to all players. In electricity today, a big company, they can produce their own electricity within the law. They are able to do that, but they are not able to distribute directly the excess production that they may have. So the small firms or medium-sized firms, they have to buy the electricity directly to the state company at the prices that are higher than their competitors across the border. So the energy reform means also to really even the playing field for all sizes of firms in Mexico to really get efficient costs in energy to engage in this production process. The same happened with the financial reform. 84% of firms in Mexico don't have direct access to financing, and the financial reform that has been already approved in the lower house and about to be approved in the upper house, the main element is how you get access to more credit at the competitive rates that will allow the system to get financing for growth. So every one of those reforms, including the educational reform, is also aimed at getting the right resources that this country needs for growth. One of the big assets of Mexican manufacturing sector is the strength of the labor force, their creativity and their productivity. They are very good success stories. I was in Guadalajara just recently in a panel with the president of Bombardier. Bombardier is producing the jet number 85 in the three countries, Mexico, Canada, and the US. It's a truly North American product. And he was sharing with us his experience as an investor in Mexico. He said, I came to Mexico 20 years ago just because of low cost. But then when I discovered the creativity of the Mexican labor force, we are using our experience in Querétaro to spread new ways in the production lines across the world with experience that we're building in Mexico. The same happened with Nissan in terms of the creativity and the strength. But we need an educational system that will help us that all Mexicans have access to strong education and in a competitive terms, in a way, the labor force in Mexico can be a great resource for the future growth of the country. So, analyzing each one of the reforms in this package, you conclude at the end that they are doing basically a simple thing. In 20 years, the political system was not able to get consensus and to produce the changes that the country needs. And today, there is this window of opportunity to take advantage of this political consensus to really implement the changes that we have been trying to get in the political system in the last 20 years. So now, this is the part that Mexico has to accomplish in this process. But then, finally, what is the view in terms of the strategic process of North America to rescue our competitiveness in the world? I was reading some parts of the report that was produced with this effort, and they point clearly to one very specific number. When we negotiated NAFTA 20 years ago, Mexico, Canada, and the US, we were exporting to the world 19% of the total supply of exports in the world. 20 years later, this number is 13%. The North American region has lost 6 percentage points in the global market of exports. And this is due to the dynamics in Asia. And this is due because we have to make a better effort to make North America more competitive in the world environment. And that challenge has to be faced from 3 different perspectives. The first one, in a plurilateral aim. And when I talk plurilateral, I'm talking how North America is going to engage in new tendencies of trade agreements around the world. And the answer that has been given so far is TPP. There are 12 countries from the Americans and Asia that are trying to engage in a new trade agreement to take, 20 years later, a new approach of the dynamics the world economy has been taking, and how to really link Mexico, the Latin American economy, and the North American economy to growing economies in Asia that has been leading the growth in the world. So TPP is the response to that plurilateral effort when you have a tremendous effort to rescue the Doha Round and the World Trade Organization in the next meeting we're holding in Bali on December the 3rd. Now, that is on the plurilateral task. On the trilateral task, Mexico, US, and Canada, just as was referred in the introduction, we just had a meeting between Secretary Priskett from the US, Secretary of Commerce, Ed Fatz from Canada, and myself in San Diego, trying to design a work plan for the 3 countries on how to advance in the process of making our region more competitive. When you look at what happened 20 years after we signed NAFTA, we have a tremendous aim to make NAFTA a free trade zone. But today we realize that that effort was really, today the reality is better than the expectations, because we have been able to integrate productive processes that are underlined by this initiative in how our production is linked between Mexico, Canada, and the US. And the only way we can make this process more efficient is by improving the way we facilitate trade on the borders. We have to facilitate customs. We have to improve the logistics of transportation. We have to harmonize our standards and norms for industrial sectors to reduce the cost of our industrial actors to link their production process in a way in which we really provide the business environment to make North America more competitive and to strengthen something that is already happened, which means the integration of productive activities in North America. The OECD today has a new way to measure the way we trade in what is called global value chains, in which what you look is the level of integration in our economies on how we become part of production process globally. When you analyze $1 of Mexican exports to the world, that $1 has 40 cents of North American content. When you analyze $1 of Chinese imports into the US, it has 4 cents of North American content. So it makes a lot of sense to really look into how we can keep on improving this production, this integration process in production that is already happening in North America. And finally, I think that the bilateral agenda was tremendously improved by the work done by President Peña and President Obama in the last meeting on May the 2nd, when they clearly recognized that what we do globally, regardless if we are attracting investment in Canada, US, or Mexico, is going to benefit the 2 countries. So it's to really recognize that the agenda that has been set to work between Mexico City and Washington has to take into account how we can improve security in the border, but not at the risk of losing efficiency in the border. How to improve the work we do in terms of promoting investment in North America, knowing that if Toyota decided to establish themselves in San Antonio, that does not only mean jobs for the US, also meant jobs for Mexico, because of the industrial cluster does not respect borders. The providers of Toyota in San Antonio are in San Luis, are in Guanajuato, are in Querétaro. So we have to have a regional view in order if we want to compete globally. Thanks a lot for your attention, and we'll be... I don't know if you have planned dialogue, but I'm open for a dialogue if it's necessary. Thank you.
Después.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today, I have the privilege of introducing the mayors of 2 of the most dynamic, competitive, and influential cities in North America, Mexico City and Chicago. Both significant global hubs for industry, foreign direct investment, and research and innovation. They share specializations in manufacturing, business services, and freight and logistics, and have a robust and relatively balanced goods trade relationship of more than $2 billion. Now, building on their very strong trade and cultural ties, and upon their sister city relationships, under the very strong leaderships of Mayor Mancera and Emanuel, the cities will embark on an exciting joint undertaking, which I am certain will set a new standard in collaboration and efficiency. So without further ado, let me first introduce the Honorable Rahm Emanuel, Mayor of the city of Chicago. Mayor Emanuel was elected the 55th Mayor of Chicago in 2011. Since taking office, he has attracted a significant number of private sector jobs for residents across the city, enacted ambitious education reform, and has submitted 2 balanced budgets that hold the line on taxes. Additionally, Mayor Emanuel launched Building a New Chicago, a $7 billion coordinated infrastructure plan that will revitalize the city's roads, rails, and runways and create tens of thousands of jobs. Prior to becoming mayor, he served as the White House Chief of Staff in President Barack Obama's administration. Before accepting the position as Chief of Staff to the President, he served 3 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives, and prior to being elected to Congress, he served as a key member of the Clinton White House from 1993 to 1998, rising to serve as senior advisor to the President for policy and strategy. Mayor, we are honored that your first international trip since taking office is this trip to Mexico City. No doubt, a strong message. Welcome to Mexico.
Thank you very much for the kind words. You know, it's moments like that you wish your parents were here, because you know your mother would be proud and your father would be amazed. This is a historic day, and I cannot think of anything more fitting than for the greatest of Mexican cities to partner with the most American of American cities, the city of Chicago. There are 2 global cities to become 2 global partners. And I look forward to this not only long friendship and partnership in building our respective cities in the true friendship that they are. And there's a telling sign in just a short period of time I've been here in Mexico City. I had a dinner last night and a breakfast this morning with some of your leading business leaders, showing how much Mexico City is on the cutting edge of both business, industry, and technology. And this morning I also visited Our Lady of Guadalupe. And both visits with your business leaders, as well as Our Lady of Guadalupe, speaks to a 21st century city that's true to its history. And I cannot think of anything more fitting than to see both of those and see it up close. And I want to congratulate the mayor for the city you're building, a global city here in Mexico City. I do also want to say and speak to why this is such an important agreement today, and setting a new standard, as you noted, between two global cities. Recently, The Economist magazine did a survey of 150 cities worldwide. And they concluded Chicago was the only city in North America to move up to the top 10 competitive cities. And one of the reasons they cited was because of our trained, world-class workforce. 35% of the people in the city of Chicago have a 4-year college degree or better. Where in the United States, the average is 27%. And in a period of time where you earn what you learn, a skilled, educated workforce is essential. And in this partnership, I look forward not only with our 4-year institutions working together and leading that effort, but also I know, Mr. Mayor, that you have set a goal to end illiteracy in Mexico City. We have a goal also in Chicago that we will be 100% college ready and 100% college bound for our children. Because if we do that together and set big sights for the workers and the people that have the skills and the education, nothing will hold back Mexico City, nothing will hold back the city of Chicago. The second thing that The Economist noted was also that the city of Chicago has a very modern transportation system. Our airport was just recently rated as the most connected airport in America. And a good part of that has to do with my good friend Mayor Daley and his father before him. You cannot imagine the city of Chicago, the world-class city, without the world-class transportation system. It has both connecting the world to Chicago, Chicago to the world, and in that airport, there are more daily flights anywhere in the United States from the city of Chicago. It's the only airport in all of North America. Both United and American have major operations out of. Allows you to get anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, daily, weather permitting, and that is something I'm working on. In addition, as the mayor and I this morning talked about, we are building what is called Building a New Chicago, a modern transportation system. More people take our transportation system in the city in a single month than take all of Amtrak nationwide all year. And modernizing our system, our bus, our rail, to move people like myself who take it from home to work in a convenient, efficient, and a cost-effective way allows the city to grow economically, but do it in a sustainable way. Third, The Economist noted the city of Chicago has a climate and a business climate and a partnership between business and this public sector that when we say, well, we're going to do something, we actually do it, and it gives people the certainty to invest. Each of these areas on transportation, education, and partnership between the public and private sector, we can work together and learn from each other. Like we have in World Business Chicago, as we talked about, our new study done by Brookings Institute and McKinsey, a 10-year plan for the city of Chicago over the next 10 years. We agreed today that we would share that plan with you and talk about how we develop that plan for the city of Chicago so we have an economic plan. So every part of the city, every individual has a chance to participate in a global, economically competitive, exciting city with a world-class workforce, a world-class transportation, in a world-class city. From transportation to education, I look forward to this partnership. On each of the areas, I think we can now build the new gold standard of what a global city looks like and how we learn from each other. Whether it's in the area of job growth or tourism. And for example, we now have a tourism office here in Mexico. Last year, our tourism grew by 41% from Mexico alone. And I would like to build on that when we move from 10th to 9th in the United States on international tourism. And my goal for the city of Chicago is to make us in the top 5 rankings of cities in the United States. On exports, And here's a place that I think is so promising for us in Chicago as it relates to Mexico City. While Mexico remains the second market for the state of Illinois in the sense of trade, it's 38th for the city of Chicago. And that's just a mismatch that we can take advantage of, and we can grow together, create jobs, economic opportunity, and build a common future together. And lastly, let me talk about a subject that's important to me personally, as well as mayor of the city of Chicago professionally. And that's immigration. The movement of people and ideas. As you know, Mr. Mayor, we talked earlier about my grandfather came to the city of Chicago in 1917 from Eastern Europe as a 13-year-old without a word of English, without a relative in Chicago. But he came to the most American of American cities. Our city is known as the city of big shoulders, but it's built on the shoulders of immigrants in the same way that Mayor Daley's family came to the shores of Lake Michigan. Half the new businesses in the city of Chicago are started by immigrants. If you're pro-small business, you have to be pro-immigrant. If you're pro-immigrant, you are pro-small business. And those are the entrepreneurs that build the businesses of tomorrow and the future of tomorrow in the cities. We have so much in common, culturally, educationally, academically, on tourism and travel and trade. We can build a common future as your city builds into the 21st century and remains one of the great cities of the 21st century. Chicago will be with you every step of the way as it too builds a global city with a world-class workforce, a world-class transportation system, and a world-class city that respects our differences culturally, but builds a common future for every child and every family to enjoy a city which I call the most American of American cities. I want to thank the Brookings Institute and Mayor Daley for making this agreement today between Mexico City and the city of Chicago. I do believe it will be the new standard, and as our national governments do what they do, or in some cases don't do anything, we can't hold the future of our cities back and the future of our peoples back. Don't worry, that was not in the text. But that requires us building alliances like this and agreements. Now, I do know one thing, having worked in national government. This can be an agreement that's on paper, or it can be an agreement that's between us and our people. And in the short time we spent together, I know I have a real partner in you, Mr. Mayor, and I look forward to working together in building our ties as two great global cities. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mayor. Now I'd like to
Muchas
introduce
gracias,
the Honorable
señor alcalde. Ahora
Miguel Ángel
quisiera
Mancera.
presentar al honorable Miguel Ángel
In
Mancera.
2012, Dr. Mancera was
En
elected
1912,
as head of the
el señor
government of the
Mancera
Federal
fue,
District by the
elegido
widest
como
margin in
jefe de
history.
gobierno con
Since
la
taking
votación
office,
más
he has
nutrida
embarked on an
de la
ambitious
historia.
agenda
También ha trabajado
to
en
foster growth and
diferentes
jobs,
programas para
reaching out to the business community and also to cities and
promover los
investors all over the
empleos y
world,
también las
to improve education,
actividades de los inversionistas
improve-
de todo el
to
mundo
modernize
para
the city,
mejorar y modernizar
to
la
improve
ciudad,
security,
para mejorar
and
la
to make the city a
seguridad y
much
también para
better
hacer de
place
la
to
ciudad
live,
un mucho
making
mejor lugar para
significant
vivir,
progress
haciendo
in all
un
of those
gran
fronts.
avance en esos
Prior to
dos
becoming mayor,
esfuerzos. Ahora,
in
antes
2000,
de convertirse
Dr.
en
Mancera
alcalde, en 2000, el
was
señor
an
Mancera
advisor to the Assembly of
fue
Representatives
asesor
of the
de
Federal
la
District,
Asamblea
in
de
the Committee on
Representantes y
Enforcement and
Diputados de
Administration of
México y
Justice.
también para
That
una
same year, he was
administración de
appointed Director
justicia
of
y
Research and
también fue
Procedures of the
nombrado
Ministry of Public
jefe
Security,
de
where he also held the
procedimientos
position
para la
of
seguridad
Director of
de la
Complementary
ciudad y
Police Tracking
director
and CO
de
and
las
advisor to the Secretary of
políticas
Public
y
Security.
consejero de la
In
seguridad
2005,
pública.
he was
En
appointed General
2005 fue
Counsel of the
nombrado
Department of Social
cónsul
Development
general para
and also
el
joined the Federal
desarrollo
District
y
Judiciary
también
as its chief.
estuvo en el Poder
He
Judicial
served as Deputy
como
Assistant Attorney
procurador.
General,
Fue
and in 2008 he was appointed
subdirector
Attorney
y
General.
fue nombrado también
Again,
procurador
it's a
general.
privilege to
Es un
introduce a good
privilegio
friend and a
presentarles
rising
a un muy
star
buen
in
amigo
Mexico's
y a
political
una
scene,
estrella
Mayor
naciente,
Miguel
el
Ángel
alcalde
Mancera.
Miguel Ángel Mancera.
Muchas gracias, muy buenas tardes.
Thank you very much. Good
Tengan todas y
afternoon
todos ustedes.
for all of you.
Me ha dado mucho gusto
very good afternoon.
declarar
I am
huésped
very pleased
distinguido al señor alcalde.
to declare as an
Acabamos de
honorable
tener un evento
and
hace unos
distinguished
minutos en
host,
las oficinas del gobierno
the
de la
mayor
ciudad,
Emanuel
en donde pudimos conversar
Rahm, and
también
we
por
could
un
have
buen
a
espacio de
very
tiempo,
nice
y
conversation
donde
for a
el
good
alcalde
span
fue
of time, where the
testigo del
mayor
afecto
was a witness
con el que
of
lo
the
recibió la
affectionate
gente, con el que lo recibimos en el gobierno,
expressed by
y
the
el gusto que
people
nos da
and the
que visite
government.
la Ciudad
How
de México.
pleased we are of his visit
Hoy la
to
Ciudad de
Mexico
México y la
City.
Ciudad de
Today,
Chicago
Mexico
comparten
City and
características
Chicago City share
en donde son reconocidas como ciudades
characteristics where
globales
they are
en su
recognized
propia
as
dimensión
global
dentro
economies
de
in their
los
own
países
dimension
propios de
amongst
cada uno.
the countries
Por eso a
of
mí me
each
interesa
one. This is why I'm
señalar
so
que el
interested
convenio
to
que vamos a firmar entre la
state
Ciudad de México
that
y
the
la Ciudad de
agreement that
Chicago
will be signed between the
representa un
cities of
instrumento
Mexico and
histórico.
Chicago represents a historical document.
Instrumento
This is
histórico
a
no solo por
historical
el tipo
document
de
not
documento,
only by the type
por el
of
contenido del
document,
mismo.
but for its
Estamos
contents.
recogiendo de
We
forma
are
precisa y
gathering
puntual
precisely
todas
and
las
punctually
acciones
all the
coordinadas que se van a
actions
realizar
that were coordinated and that
través
will
de
be
las áreas de
carried out
desarrollo
through the
económico
series
de
of
ambos gobiernos.
economic
Vamos
development
a fomentar,
actions
a
between the
promover
two cities. We
y a
will
consolidar
foster,
a la micro,
consolidate
pequeña,
the micro,
mediana y
small,
gran empresa.
middle size and big
Vamos a trabajar de
company.
manera
We will
puntual
work
con los sectores
very definely
económicos.
in the
Por eso hoy
economic
también saludo
sectors. This
al
is
señor
why
ministro de
I
Economía
am
del Gobierno
really
Federal,
saluting
que se
the
encuentra
economy
presente, con quien
minister who
compartimos
is
una agenda
here with us
precisamente en
and
este
with
impulso
which we
del
share
gobierno de la
this
Ciudad de
agenda
México.
for the government of Mexico
Compartimos
City.
una
We
tradición
share
reciente
a
en el
recent
estrechamiento
tradition
de
in
vínculos a nivel
strengthening our
institucional y de
links
cooperación.
institutionally and
Somos
at a
ciudades amigas,
cooperative
la
levels.
Ciudad de
We
México
are
y la Ciudad de
friends
Chicago, desde
cities, friend
1991,
cities since
y hemos refrendado
1991,
este
and we
pacto ya
have
en
been
múltiples ocasiones.
ratifying
Y
this
hace unos minutos lo
agreement
acabamos de refrendar
in
de
many
nueva cuenta
occasions,
el
and
alcalde,
now we
el
recently
alcalde
did
y
the
yo.
same thing.
Hoy estas ciudades darán un paso
The
hacia
mayor
adelante.
Emanuel and
Es un
myself.
paso concreto.
Now we
Es
are
una
going
asociación
forward. This is
estratégica
a strategic
en materia
alliance in economics.
En la Ciudad de México
In
creemos
Mexico
que
City, we
hay mucho que
believe
aprender
that there is
de
a lot
Chicago.
to be learned from
modelo
Chicago. The
que han
model
adoptado
they have
para el desarrollo de la
adopted for
economía
the
es un
economic
modelo que queremos
development
observar.
is a model we
Es un
wish
modelo que nos
to
puede
follow.
llevar
We wish to
a
very
impulsar la innovación,
carefully watching,
la
improving
recursos
research
humanos.
and human resources.
La zona metropolitana
The
que comprende la ciudad
metropolitan
de Chicago
area
junto con
that
varias áreas
covered
del estado
Chicago
de
City and
Illinois
several areas
se
of the state
constituye
of
como la
Illinois
tercera
is
zona
the third
metropolitana más
metropolitan
importante
area most
de los
important
Estados Unidos.
of the United States.
Representa un
It
mercado
represents
total
a total
en el
market
resto de la región de
in the
Norteamérica
remainder
del
of
orden de
North
los
American region around
28.300 millones de dólares.
30
Y su actividad comercial
$300 million
en cuanto a las
and
industrias
the commercial
de
activities
avanzada
between the
constituye el
industries
38%
of the
de
edge
su economía,
constitutes
el
the 95%,
del total de los
47% of the
Estados
total
Unidos
of
de
the United
Norteamérica.
States of America.
De igual manera, el liderazgo que tiene la Ciudad de
Also,
México
the
en el
leadership
país,
Mexico City has in the
me
country,
refiero en nuestro
I
país,
am
es
meaning our
incuestionable.
country,
Tenemos
has no
el centro
doubt about it. We
financiero
have the
en esta
financial
ciudad,
center
el
in
centro
the city,
neurálgico
the
de la
neurologic
economía,
center
y
of
por
the
supuesto
economy,
también
and of
reportamos
course
el
we
más alto
report
porcentaje
the highest
respecto del PIB
percentage
del país.
concerning the
Los movimientos económicos que
P,
lleva la Ciudad de México, que
the
experimenta la Ciudad de
GDP
México,
in
son reflejos
Mexico
muchas
City,
veces de
which
estrategias
reflects
conjuntas con el
joint
gobierno federal.
strategies with the
Hoy
federal
acabamos de ver
government.
una
Today we
respuesta más
just
de
saw
construcción
one
en esta
more response
relación.
of construction,
Hoy
of
la Ciudad de
building
México
this
tiene un fondo
relationship.
de
Today
capitalidad
with the
que es
fund
resultado
of
de eso,
capital in
de
Mexico
diálogo,
City, which is
de
a result
trabajo
of that, an
conjunto,
outcome
de
of this
trabajo
joint work,
estratégico desde el
strategic
punto de
work
vista
from the
financiero.
standpoint of finance.
Por eso queremos
This is
reforzar
why we want to
la vocación de la
reinforce
ciudad. La ciudad tiene una
this
vocación de impulso
nature of the
económico, de
city,
desarrollo.
economic
Queremos
drive,
estar
development.
cerca
We want to be
de
near
Chicago. Compartimos
We
muchas
share
experiencias,
many
compartimos
experiences. We share
muchos temas históricos.
many historical subjects.
Y por eso es que En
This
la
is
misma
why
línea del desarrollo
in the
social
same line
hemos
of the
encontrado
social
referentes
development, we
comunes
found some
con el alcalde.
references that
Hoy
are in
platicábamos
common
acerca de los temas
between
de cercanía
Major
con
Emanuel
los
and myself.
inmigrantes. Hoy
And also
hablábamos
towards
de la
immigrants.
política de un gobierno
We were
cercano con su
mentioning
gente.
recently this
Hoy la Ciudad de
connection
México,
with the
pues,
people.
celebra
Today,
la
Mexico
realización
City is
de este
celebrating
convenio.
this
Hoy la Ciudad de
agreement.
México
Today,
está segura
Mexico
que
City
vamos a
is certain
construir
that we will
una
build
estrategia muy
a
importante,
very
enfocada,
important
como ya bien
strategy
decía
focused,
el alcalde,
as
hacia la
Mayor
educación,
Emanuel said,
hacia
towards
los lazos de
education,
desarrollo
towards the
económico
link of economic strategic
estratégico,
development,
hacia los temas de
towards
fomento turístico,
the touristic
que de por
fostering
sí ya son
subjects, which
referentes.
are themselves
Tenemos
so
mucho que
important.
compartir.
We have many
La
things
Ciudad
to
de
share.
México
Mexico
quiere
City
aprender, como
wants
decía
to
yo,
learn,
de
as I
este
already
modelo.
said,
Es un modelo
out of this
exitoso,
model,
en
which is
donde,
so successful, where
conjunta
we
lo
have
que ha resultado una
together
fórmula,
all that has
de
been
ganar,
this
ganar.
formula
La participación
of
de la
win-win
iniciativa privada
sides, the participation of the
el
private
trabajo
sector
del
with
gobierno.
the government,
El
efforts
análisis
of the government,
estratégico
the
de
strategic
los recursos,
analysis of the
el análisis
resources, the
estratégico de
strategic
la potencialidad.
analysis of the
Estoy
potential.
seguro que
I
a
am
través de este
certain that
instrumento,
through this
dos
instrument,
ciudades,
two cities,
como señalábamos hoy
as
el
we
alcalde
said
y su
today,
servidor en la plática que
Mayor
tuvimos,
Emanuel and myself,
ciudades
during our
amigas, dos ciudades
conversation, two
hermanas,
friend cities, two
pueden
sister
ser
cities
un
that can be
referente.
a
Dos
point
ciudades
of reference,
globales
a
son
framework
mucho más
of
fuertes.
globality,
Dos ciudades
which
globales
are
pueden hacer
so
un impulso
near,
muy
and two
importante.
global cities
Hoy
that can
las
mean
ciudades
a very strong
están
drive.
cambiando el mundo.
Today, the
Es
cities
una
are changing
responsabilidad
the world.
de quienes
This is a
dirigen
high
las ciudades en
responsibility
diferentes
for the heads
espacios.
of the
Las
governments
ciudades
of
están
these
dando un
cities
impulso muy
of
importante
space with a
a los
very
cambios
important
en los
drive
países.
to changes in the
No se puede
countries. We
solamente,
cannot
a
only
través del referente del
through
país,
the
realizar los cambios
framework of the
del día a
country
día.
to carry
Es con
out
el impulso
daily
de los
changes. It is
alcaldes,
with the
es con el
drive
impulso
from mayors.
de los
It
gobiernos
is with the
locales
drive of the
con el que se
local
puede dar
governments that
también
we
un
can
cambio
also
sustancial.
to push
Somos
such a
corresponsables en
substantial
este
change. We are
trabajo. Yo siempre lo he
co-responsible
dicho aquí.
parties.
Por
I
eso
have
nosotros
always
trabajamos con
said
cercanía
that.
con
This
el
is why
gobierno
we
federal
work so
en
near
México.
the federal
Por eso
government
nosotros
in
estamos
Mexico City.
convencidos
This is
de
why
que
we
las
are
estrategias
so
tienen que ser de
convinced
suma
that
de
strategies have to
esfuerzos.
add efforts.
Hoy con el alcalde
Today,
he
with
tenido
Mayor
un
Emanuel,
día muy grato,
I
porque
had a
tenemos
very
muchos
pleasant
proyectos, porque vamos por
year
innovación,
because we have so
porque
it's a
como él
week
acaba
we
de
have so
señalar,
many
también vamos
efforts
a
for
trabajar y estamos muy
innovation,
interesados
and we
en lo
are
que
so
es un
interested,
sistema de
both of
transporte
us, in a
muy potente
transportation,
el que tiene
a
Chicago.
very strong
Pero
system
compartíamos hoy unos
in
puntos de
Chicago,
coincidencia.
and we were
Vamos por un
sharing
transporte
some
verde,
coincident
transporte eficiente,
points, a
sustentable.
green
Y
transportation
vamos a analizar,
system,
por supuesto,
a
todas las
sustainable
estrategias
one.
que generen
This is
una
why we
mejor
are going to
movilidad.
implement all
Las
these
ciudades,
mobile strategies for
las
our cities
macrociudades,
in the
como la ciudad de
macro
Chicago y la Ciudad de
cities
México,
such as
tienen que
Chicago
estar
and
preocupadas
Mexico
de
City.
manera
We have to be
permanente
so
por
concerned
el
permanently
bienestar
for the
de los
well-being
ciudadanos,
of
porque
citizens,
puedan
because
tener más y más
we wish
confort
them to
en
have
su
more
estancia.
and more
Y eso
comfort
es de lo que nos vamos a
in
ocupar.
their
Estoy
stay
seguro que
here
eso
in the
y
city.
muchas otras
This
cosas
is
nos va a dejar este
what
convenio.
we will
Es un
foster,
convenio
and we
que
will
tiene
share
metas
the
específicas,
outcomes
que
of
tiene
this
puntos
agreement
específicos
with
a
specific
desarrollar
goals,
y que lo vamos a
specific
hacer además con un
developing
gran
points,
entusiasmo.
and we will
Por eso
be
agradezco esta
so
invitación,
enthusiastic. This
la
is why
participación tan
I
activa que
thank
tiene
this invitation,
JP Morgan,
this active
todos y cada uno de los
participation
organizadores,
of JP
todos los que
Morgan,
han
all the
realizado esta importantísima
organizers
convocatoria,
for this
y vuelvo
such
a
an
reiterar
important
nuestro
event.
agrado
And I
de que el
reiterate
alcalde
our
de Chicago esté entre nosotros,
stay
agradecer también a su
here
comitiva por
sharing
todo
this
el respaldo
important event,
para este
and
encuentro,
all
para que se
the
formalizara este
rest
encuentro.
committee
Tenemos también
they
ya algún compromiso
brought with
deportivo
them.
con el
We have
alcalde
a
que
sports
no viene a cuenta hoy,
commitment
pero
also with the
he
mayor,
encontrado
which
otro
is
referente importante para
outside this
seguir con este
main
hermanamiento
project,
todavía
but
de
we
larga
will
duración.
continue
Muchísimas
being
gracias.
brothers in these efforts. Thank you very much.